I was just checking my credit report for a car loan when my heart stopped. There it was, clear as day, an $80,000 loan in my name. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. This couldn't be right. I'd never taken out such a huge loan in my life. My savings account only had $3,000. I worked part-time at a coffee shop while studying. There was no way I could afford payments on $80,000. I refreshed the page, hoping it was some kind of mistake. But the numbers stayed the same. Paula Jim, that was my name right there. The loan was dated 6 months ago. I remembered that day clearly. I was taking my final exams at college. I definitely wasn't signing any loan papers. Something was very, very wrong here. If you like our revenge stories, please subscribe for more. We drop powerful news stories every week, filled with truth, emotion, and justice. Don't miss the next one. And remember, some stories hurt, but they heal too. Subscribe now, and join the journey. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those numbers, $80,000. My mind raced with questions. How did this happen? Who would do this to me? Was my identity stolen? I called my best friend Hannah at midnight. Someone took out a loan using my name, I whispered into the phone. $80,000, Hannah. I don't know what to do. She was shocked too. That's identity theft, Paula. You need to call the bank immediately. The next morning, I skipped my classes and called the bank. The woman on the phone was polite but firm. According to our records, you signed these documents yourself, Miss Jim. We have your signature on file. My stomach dropped. But I never signed anything. I swear I didn't. You'll need to come in person to dispute this. At the bank, they showed me copies of the loan documents. There was my name, my address, my social security number, everything was correct. But when I saw the signature, my blood ran cold. It looked like my handwriting, but something felt off about it. I need to see the original documents, I demanded. The bank manager, Mr. Williams, frowned. These are certified copies. The originals are in our vault. May I ask why you're disputing a loan you signed 6 months ago? Because I never signed it. My voice was getting louder. Other customers started looking at me. Mr. Williams studied my face carefully. Miss Jim, this is a very serious accusation. Are you saying someone forged your signature? I nodded, feeling tears forming in my eyes. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I've never seen these papers before in my life. He made some notes. We'll need to investigate this thoroughly. 3 days later, Mr. Williams called me back to the bank. His face was grave as he sat across from me in his office. Miss Jim, I have some difficult news. We traced the loan application process, and it appears the documents were submitted by your parents. The room started spinning. My parents? Your father and mother came in with the paperwork. They said they were helping you apply because you were busy with college exams. I felt like I was going to throw up. My own parents had done this to me. They had used my name, my credit, my future without even asking me. The loan was for your brother's business venture, Mr. Williams continued. Your parents said you agreed to co-sign but couldn't make it to the appointment. This is fraud, I whispered. That's a very serious allegation, Miss Jim. Are you sure you want to pursue this against your own family? I looked him straight in the eye. Yes. If you like our revenge stories, please subscribe for more. We drop powerful news stories every week, filled with truth, emotion, and justice. Don't miss the next one. And remember, some stories hurt, but they heal too. Subscribe now, and join the journey. I drove straight to my parents' house, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. I found my brother Jake in the garage, working on a shiny new sports car I'd never seen before. Nice car, I said sarcastically. Let me guess, $80,000? Jake looked up with a smug smile. Mom told you, huh? Look, Paula, don't make a big deal about this. You'll pay it off way faster than I ever could. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You think this is okay? You took a loan in my name without asking me. It's not like you were using your credit anyway, he shrugged. Besides, my business is going to make millions. You should be thanking me for including you in this opportunity. Including me? You stole my identity. Jake rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. It's just family money. We'll figure it out together. I wanted to scream. How could my own brother be so casual about ruining my financial future? My parents were waiting in the kitchen when I stormed inside. Mom was making dinner like nothing had happened. Dad sat at the table reading his newspaper. We need to talk, I said, my voice shaking with anger. Mom sighed. Jake told us you were upset. Honey, we did this for the family. Your brother needed help getting his business started. So you committed fraud in my name? Dad put down his newspaper. Don't use that word, Paula. We're family. Everything we do is for the good of all of us. You destroyed my credit. I'm 20 years old, and I already have massive debt because of you. You're being selfish, Mom said calmly. Jake needed this loan, and your credit score was better. It made sense. I stared at them in disbelief. Made sense? You broke the law. Dad stood up. We did what we had to do. Now stop making a fuss and help your brother succeed. The collection calls started a week later. Every morning, my phone rang with automated messages about missed payments. The loan required monthly payments of $1,200, more than I made in a month at my part-time job. I tried calling Jake, but he wouldn't answer his phone. When I finally caught him at Mom's house, he just shrugged. The business needs more time to get going, he said. Can't you just make the payments for a few months? With what money? I'm a college student. Get a better job, he suggested. Or take out a student loan to cover it. I couldn't believe he wanted me to take on even more debt to pay for his mistakes. The stress was making me sick. I couldn't concentrate on my studies, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My parents kept calling, asking me to be reasonable and think about family first. But all I could think about was how they had betrayed me. Jake made everything worse by posting photos of his new car on social media. He bragged about his successful business and his amazing new ride to all his friends. One of my classmates saw the posts and asked me about it. Wow, your family must be doing really well. Your brother's car is incredible. I didn't know what to say. How could I explain that the car was bought with a loan in my name? That my credit was being destroyed while my brother lived it up? The worst part was when my extended family started commenting on Jake's posts. So proud of you, my aunt wrote. The Jim family is really moving up in the world. They had no idea that Jake's success was built on my financial ruin. Every like, every comment felt like another knife in my back. I wanted to comment and tell everyone the truth, but I knew it would cause a huge family explosion. So I suffered in silence, watching my brother get praised for something I was secretly paying for. My parents invited me over for Sunday dinner. I thought maybe they wanted to apologize or figure out a solution. Instead, they ambushed me with a lecture about family loyalty. You need to stop this nonsense, Dad said before I'd even sat down. People are starting to talk about why you're not supporting your brother. Supporting him? I am supporting him. With my credit. Mom shook her head. You're making this much harder than it needs to be. Just take over the payments and move on. I can't afford $1,200 a month. Then get a loan, Dad suggested. Use your student aid money. I stared at them both. They actually expected me to take on more debt to cover their fraud. You're asking me to ruin my entire future for Jake's business idea? We're asking you to be a good sister, Mom replied. That's when something inside me broke. I realized my parents would never see what they did as wrong. I tried talking to other family members, hoping someone would understand how wrong this was. My uncle just laughed it off. That's what family does, Paula. We help each other out. My cousin sided with Jake. He's trying to build something. You should be proud to help him. Even my grandparents thought I was overreacting. In our day, families stuck together no matter what, Grandma said. You young people are so selfish. I felt completely alone. My own family had turned against me, and now they were making me feel like the bad person for being upset about fraud. My friends at college were supportive, but they couldn't really understand what it was like to have your own parents betray you this way. Hannah tried to help. Maybe you could work out a payment plan with Jake? But I knew Jake had no intention of paying me back. He thought he deserved my help, and my parents agreed with him. I was trapped, and no one seemed to care. Everything changed when I met Beth, a lawyer who came to speak at our college about financial crimes. After her presentation, I approached her with my story. Her eyes widened as I explained what happened. Paula, what your parents did is called identity theft and fraud. It doesn't matter that they're your family. But everyone keeps saying I should just help my brother. Would you forge someone else's signature to help a friend? She asked. Of course not. Then why is it okay when family does it to you? Beth explained that family members commit identity theft more often than strangers. They have access to your personal information, and victims often don't report it because of guilt. She handed me her business card. If you want to fight this, I can help you. But you need to decide if you're willing to take legal action against your parents. I stared at the card, feeling hope for the first time in weeks. Beth told me to collect every piece of evidence I could find. I started with the bank documents, making copies of everything Mr. Williams had shown me. Then I went through my old school records to find examples of my real signature from different time periods. The differences were subtle but noticeable when you looked carefully. I also documented every phone call, every conversation with my family. Beth taught me to keep detailed notes with dates and times. We need to build a clear timeline, she explained. Show that you had no knowledge of this loan and no ability to make the payments. I gathered my work schedule from the coffee shop, showing I only worked part-time and made minimum wage. I collected my college enrollment records and my previous credit reports, proving I'd never taken on debt like this before. The hardest part was recording conversations with my family. I felt like a spy in my own house. But every time Jake bragged about his car or my parents told me to stop complaining, I knew I was doing the right thing. Beth called me with exciting news. Paula, I had a handwriting expert examine the loan documents. The signature is definitely forged. You can prove it? Absolutely. The expert found at least 12 significant differences between the forged signature and your real signature samples. She explained that forgers often make small mistakes, the angle of certain letters, the pressure of the pen strokes, the spacing between words. Your father signed your name, Beth continued. The expert says the forged signature has characteristics consistent with his handwriting style. I felt sick and relieved at the same time. Sick because my own father had literally forged my name, but relieved because we could prove it. This gives us a strong case for fraud, Beth said. But I need to warn you, once we file charges, there's no going back. Your parents could face serious legal consequences. I thought about Jake's smug face and my parents' refusal to admit they'd done anything wrong. File the charges. Armed with the expert's report, I went to confront my parents one more time. I wanted to give them a chance to make this right before involving the courts. I spread the evidence across their kitchen table. Dad, a handwriting expert proved you forged my signature. Dad barely glanced at the papers. That's ridiculous. You signed those documents yourself. No, I didn't. And now I can prove it. Mom crossed her arms. Even if that were true, which it's not, you're still being selfish. This is about family. This is about fraud, I said firmly. You committed a felony. We did what we had to do, Dad replied. Jake needed help, and you were the only one with good enough credit. Their complete lack of remorse shocked me. They still didn't think they'd done anything wrong. I'm giving you one last chance, I said. Transfer the loan to Jake's name, and I won't press charges. They both laughed. You won't do anything, Mom said confidently. You wouldn't hurt your own family. Jake showed up while I was still at my parents' house. He'd overheard part of our conversation and was angry. Are you seriously threatening Mom and Dad with lawyers? He demanded. They forged my signature, Jake. That's a crime. Nobody's going to believe you, he said with a nasty smile. We're your family. Why would we hurt you? Because you're selfish, I replied. All of you. Jake got in my face. You think you're so smart with your college education and your fancy lawyer friend. But at the end of the day, we're still family. And family doesn't destroy each other over money. You already destroyed me, I said quietly. You destroyed my credit, my financial future, my trust in my own family. You're being dramatic, he scoffed. It's just money. You'll recover. It's not just money. It's my life. Jake shrugged. Well, your life is about to get a lot more complicated if you keep pushing this. I guarantee no one will take your side over ours. But I was done being intimidated by my family. Beth and I met at her office to plan our legal strategy. She'd reviewed all the evidence and was confident we had a strong case. We'll file charges for identity theft, fraud, and forgery, she explained. The bank will also likely pursue their own charges since they're out $80,000. What happens to Jake's car? Since it was purchased with fraudulent funds, it'll probably be repossessed. Jake will be responsible for the full loan amount. I felt a twinge of guilt, but then I remembered how smug he'd been about the whole thing. Beth continued, your parents could face fines and possible jail time. I want you to be prepared for that. Will this really clear my credit? Once we prove fraud, the loan will be removed from your credit report completely. It'll be like it never happened. For the first time in months, I could see light at the end of the tunnel. When do we file? I asked. Tomorrow morning. Are you ready for this, Paula? I thought about my brother's arrogance, my parents' betrayal, and months of sleepless nights. I'm ready. I didn't tell my family about the legal action. Beth advised me to let the court's summons be their first notification. The next few days were strange. My parents kept calling, asking me to family dinners and acting like nothing had happened. Jake even texted me photos of his car, as if flaunting his fraud-purchased luxury would somehow make me give up. I went to classes, worked my shifts at the coffee shop, and tried to act normal. But inside, I was nervous and excited. Finally, someone was going to hold my family accountable for what they'd done to me. My parents must have assumed I'd given up because they stopped pressuring me to make loan payments. They probably thought they'd won. Hannah asked if I felt guilty about what I was doing. They're your family, Paula. Family doesn't steal from each other, I replied. They made their choice when they forged my signature. The waiting was almost over. The court summons arrived on a Thursday morning. I was in economics class when my phone started buzzing nonstop. First Mom called, then Dad, then Jake. I let them all go to voicemail. When I finally listened to the messages, I could hear the panic in their voices. Mom's message, Paula, what have you done? The police want to talk to your father about some loan documents. Call me immediately. Dad's message, this is insane, Paula. How could you do this to your own family? Call me right now. Jake's message, are you out of your mind? You're going to destroy our entire family over money? I can't believe you. I saved all the voicemails as evidence and called Beth. They got the summons, I told her. Good. Are you okay? I'm scared, but I'm okay. Remember, Paula, you didn't do this to them. They did this to themselves when they committed fraud. She was right, but it still hurt to hear the pain in my family's voices, even though they'd caused all of this. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. My parents hired a lawyer who tried to argue that this was a family misunderstanding rather than fraud. But Beth was prepared. She presented the handwriting analysis, my work records, my college enrollment, and recordings of my family admitting they'd used my credit without my permission. The judge was not impressed with my parents' defense. "Mr. and Mrs. Jim," she said sternly, "you signed your daughter's name to loan documents worth $80,000 without her knowledge or consent. That is textbook identity theft and fraud." My parents' lawyer tried to argue that they intended to pay me back, but the judge cut him off. "Intent to repay doesn't make forgery legal," she stated. The evidence was overwhelming. My father had to admit under oath that he'd signed my name to the documents. When it was my turn to speak, I told the judge how the loan had affected my life, my credit, and my ability to trust my own family. "Your Honor, they stole my identity and then tried to make me feel guilty for being upset about it." The judge ruled in my favor. After the hearing, Jake's world fell apart quickly. The bank immediately demanded full payment of the loan, plus penalties for fraud. When he couldn't pay, they repossessed his car. His business venture had been nothing more than buying and reselling electronics online. Without the car to make deliveries, and without startup money, the business collapsed within a week. Jake had to move back in with our parents and take a job at a grocery store. His social media went from bragging about success to radio silence. The worst part for him was that all his friends found out why he lost the car. Word spread quickly in our small town about the fraud case. He called me one night, crying. "Paula, I'm sorry. I never thought it would go this far. Can't you drop the charges?" "It's too late for that, Jake. The court already ruled. But I'll pay you back, I promise." "With what money? You can't even afford the loan payments." For the first time, my brother understood the impossible situation he'd put me in. My parents faced the harshest consequences. Dad was convicted of forgery and identity theft. He received 2 years probation and had to pay fines totaling $15,000. Mom was charged as an accessory since she'd helped plan and execute the fraud. She got 1 year probation and community service. Both of them lost their jobs when the convict. They had to sell their house to pay legal fees and fines. The family that had seemed so successful just months earlier was now broke and disgraced. My extended family was divided. Some supported me for standing up for myself. Others thought I was cruel for destroying the family over money. I felt sad about their downfall, but I also felt vindicated. They'd gambled with my future and lost. "You reap what you sow," Hannah reminded me when I expressed guilt about their situation. She was right. They'd made their choices. The best day was when Mr. Williams called to tell me the loan had been completely removed from my credit report. "Miss Jim, your credit score has actually improved since this whole situation started," he said. "You handled this very professionally." I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. No more collection calls. No more debt hanging over my head. No more sleepless nights worrying about my financial future. I applied for a small student loan to help with my final year of college. My application was approved immediately with excellent terms. Beth refused to let me pay her full legal fees. "You stood up for yourself when your own family wouldn't," she said. "I'm proud to have helped you." I sent thank you cards to everyone who had supported me during the ordeal, especially Hannah and Mr. Williams. For the first time in months, I could focus on my studies and my future instead of worrying about debt I'd never signed up for. I was finally free. Jake's life continued to spiral downward. Without the car, he couldn't keep his grocery store job. The manager said he was unreliable because he kept showing up late due to bus delays. He tried to start other businesses, but no one would lend him money after the fraud conviction. His credit was destroyed, and his reputation in town was ruined. He applied for dozens of jobs but kept getting rejected when employers ran background checks. Having a fraud conviction on your record makes it nearly impossible to find decent work. The friends who used to admire his success stories stopped returning his calls. Nobody wanted to be associated with someone who'd committed fraud against his own sister. Jake lost weight and started looking older than his age. The stress of his situation was eating away at him. He tried calling me a few more times, but I'd changed my number. Beth advised me to have no contact with any of my family while the legal consequences were still being sorted out. I heard through mutual friends that Jake was struggling, but I felt no sympathy. He'd made his bed. My parents became pariahs in our small community. Word of their fraud conviction spread quickly, and people they'd known for decades began avoiding them. They couldn't afford to buy another house after selling theirs, so they rented a small apartment in the bad part of town. Dad took a job as a night security guard, and Mom worked part-time at a gas station. The people who used to respect them now whispered behind their backs. How could they do that to their own daughter? I heard someone say at the grocery store. Several times, I saw them around town. They always looked away when they spotted me, unable to make eye contact. Mom sent me a few text messages. "We're sorry, Paula. We miss you." But I didn't respond. They'd had multiple chances to make things right, and they'd chosen to defend their actions instead. Now they were living with the consequences of their choices. I felt sad for them sometimes, but I also knew that maintaining contact would only enable their behavior. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. They had to live with what they'd done. 2 years later, I graduated college with honors and got a great job at a marketing firm. My credit was perfect, and I'd saved enough money for a down payment on my own house. The day I signed my mortgage papers, I thought about how different things could have been. If I hadn't fought back, I'd still be trapped under that massive debt, unable to buy anything or build a future. My new house was small but beautiful. I painted the walls bright colors and filled it with plants and books. For the first time in my life, I had a space that was completely mine. Hannah helped me move in. "I'm so proud of you," she said as we unpacked boxes. "You stood up for yourself when it mattered most." I invited some college friends over for a housewarming party. We laughed and celebrated until late in the night. As everyone was leaving, I stood on my front porch and looked at my little house with its bright yellow door and flower boxes in the windows. I thought about posting something on social media, but then I decided against it. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. Instead, I simply whispered to myself, "No family should cost you your future." I'd learned that lesson the hard way, but I'd learned it well. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more powerful narratives, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what part hit you the hardest. Thanks for watching.